Good morning, everybody, and thank you for joining us on today's webinar. Today we'll be focusing around sort of those workspace challenges that you might be having and how sort of smarter booking process systems may benefit your business. We've got Condeco on the webinar here today. John Hildebrands, who's the Global Director of Customer Experience, he'll be presenting the duration of the webinar, and we've also got Luke Flory, the Partner Development Manager, who will be introducing the webinar, introducing you to John. But before I hand over, I'm just going to run through some very quick housekeeping with you all. During the webinar, you will be muted, but you can submit questions via the questions box on the right-hand side of the screen. We'll have a very short Q&A session if there are any questions where we can read out the answers for you. The webinar recording will be made available to you, and we'll send that out sort of today, tomorrow, for you to play back in case there's anything you missed or if you want to share with your team. And there is a feedback form that will just pop up at the end of the webinar. It just takes a minute or two to just fill in a couple of questions. We really do appreciate your feedback for these sort of things and to know kind of what you like to see on webinars moving forward. So I'm now going to pass you over to Luke.
Hello, and welcome to this Condeco webinar hosted by our technology partner, Byte Software Services. Today, we're going to focus on how Condeco products integrated in with the Microsoft ecosystem can enhance the user booking experience. I'm Luke Flory, and I'm a Partner Development Manager at Condeco Software, managing the relationship between Condeco and Byte Software Services. If you're not too familiar with us, Condeco is the global leader in workspace management technology. Over the past 15 years, we've helped over 1,200 businesses achieve a more productive and better utilized workspace. Our cloud-based solutions, hosted on Microsoft Azure, make it easier to find, book, and manage workspace. Using workspace management technology, integrating our room and desk booking software, businesses can be more efficient, productive, and flexible in their day-to-day activities. Let me now pass over to my colleague John Hildebrands to explain further how the partnership between Condeco and Microsoft can enhance your booking experience.
Thanks very much, Luke. Good morning, everybody. Just to introduce myself, I'm John Hildebrands. I'm the Director of Customer Experience at Condeco. And as part of my role, we have a lot of time where we spend working with our partners across the ecosystem. And one of those partners that we work with on a frequent basis, obviously as a partner in the customer experience, but also a strategic partner for us as they host our application in the Azure stack, is Microsoft. And what we really like to talk about today is around how Condeco works hand in hand with Microsoft products and Microsoft Outlook very specifically to create an enhanced experience for users. So we're going to go through a few things. We're going to look at the standard, or we're going to talk a bit about the standard calendar processes and practices for managing bookings in Outlook. And the reason for that is so we can compare and contrast where Condeco can help with certain challenges. We're also going to talk about how Condeco can enhance that experience and how it integrates into your existing calendar environment. So for those customers who may be, or potential customers or partners that are using exchange-based room booking today. And then lastly, there's a few bits about the value add points that we add to the customer and user experience on top of the native Office 365 and Microsoft-based journey. So as I said in the housekeeping, any questions, please put them into the chat windows, and I'll be staying on for some questions at the end, and me and Luke will be more than happy to talk to anybody about anything that we talk about in this presentation. Okay, so we'll start by talking about standard calendar processes, and this is going to be a little bit of talking. Unfortunately, demos don't really go well on webinars, but everyone can imagine or already uses the Outlook-based experience natively. And if you don't use it today in your organization, it's more than likely you've used it at some point in time in your careers, where you use the scheduling assistant in your Outlook appointment to find an additional room from a rooms list, one or more rooms, and you go ahead and you invite that room to a booking. Now, our friends and colleagues at Microsoft have done some really great work with the Outlook Places functionality of late. So there's been a lot of enhancements with the advent of Teams and Outlook in Office 365 in the web, for example. There's some really great new features where you can just start typing a room name and it has geolocation awareness, so it can suggest rooms that are physically closer to you. So the booking journey natively on Office 365 and Exchange Online has really come a long way, and offers quite a lot of the customer experience and end user experience features that people are demanding and businesses are demanding. But there is always some areas that don't get covered by this, and it's especially when we start talking to the facilities teams and we start talking about deeper insights into workplace utilization and space utilization, and then you look on to further areas of space management like hoteling and desk management and things of that nature that we'll talk about in a moment. But this basis, the basis of what we're going to talk about today, is really on enhancing that native experience using Office 365 and Exchange. So for those not familiar, I really do recommend that you have a look at what's available in Office 365 natively with room booking, because there are some great features, especially with the new Outlook Places functionality. And you can book through Teams, you can book on mobile, it's cross-platform, etc. So there's some really great stuff in terms of basic room booking management just available there in your Office 365 subscription. Now, having a look across our customer base, and in the research we've done about to customers and people who aren't customers, we have a look at different kinds of booking systems used in organizations. So the vast majority of organizations, we're talking about 38% in our research, are using Microsoft Outlook, Google, or some kind of iCalendar type service, and the larger portion of that is using Microsoft Outlook. Some people are using some kind of internet booking sites. This is usually an in-house type booking product, maybe something that someone's just coded and allows you to place a request, and that request goes off to a reception team or someone of that nature, and then they might place that request in a system or somewhere behind the scenes that the end users don't have any awareness of. And then there's another version of that where people just contact reception teams and admin teams, for example, right? So you're emailing somebody with your needs, and you're going up to a desk and you're talking to them about those needs, and they're going ahead and scheduling the space in some system, or even we've seen it on paper or in Excel spreadsheets and things of that nature. Then 31% have specialist meeting room software, and that's really where you need the things that the Outlook or a manual process with human beings doesn't necessarily offer you. That's when you need an integrated solution that's maybe talking to different areas of the business. It's talking to your CAFM systems, it's talking to your IWMS systems, it's talking to your HVAC systems, giving you that connected user experience, and also looking after those more advanced spaces and advanced needs like catering, services, etc. We'll talk a little bit more about where those specialist meeting room software like Condeco add value to the customer's experience and end user's experience. A lot of people using door displays or screens, we categorize that as, are you using that at all? It may be that that's a part of the overall solution, or it might be that the solution that they're using only is a display or a screen on the door. And then we have mobile apps as part of that overall experience, and then a small amount of customers using chatbots. So it's a really interesting mixed estate on how people engage with space, and there's no one standard, this is how everyone does it, because the requirements are so different. And we find that across business verticals and across teams within a business, the requirements are very, very different. You know, I work within an operations team. Our meeting room needs are relatively standard, but our sales team, for example, who have our customers coming into our office, and anyone who wants to come in, please get in touch, because we're more than happy to host people. They require the ability to add services, visitor experiences, and things of that nature. So the different teams within any given organization may have different needs when interacting with space. And that's really where products like Condeco come in to add value, because there are certain things that a native based Exchange journey is not going to do. And if you don't want to kind of move away from that and have two separate systems, or more than two separate systems, then you end up having to try and find a solution that meets the basic needs of all of those people who enjoy the Exchange-based journey, and that's all they need, but also offers those more advanced journeys for those teams that need it and those businesses that need it. So we've put together a little poll that we always find quite interesting when talking to an audience about what do you use today. So I'm just going to flip over to the question. I believe our colleagues have put the poll up on the screen there. So the question is, how do you book meetings in your organization? It's a really interesting one. There's obviously a few options there. I'm just going to pull up those options on my screen here. So the options you've got displaying are Microsoft Outlook or Google, intranet site, PAs, specialist meeting room software, door displays or screens, mobile apps, or meeting chatbots. Now, it could just be that these are an element of a solution you already have, and if you're a Condeco customer, you're going to have a few of these, or it could be that this is your main way of booking. So we'll keep the poll open just for a little minute longer. I'm going to talk through those options again, just so everyone has a chance to respond. We've got Microsoft Outlook, Google, or iCal. So this is a solution that's built into your calendaring system you use for your employees. We have intranet site, so some kind of intranet site, maybe an in-house product that's being used or served as a web page internally. Contacting PAs or reception teams or EAs or something of that nature, maybe a central reservations team. Specialist meeting room software, so products like Condeco and others. Door displays or screens, so do you have any displays outside the room in terms of room availability and maybe with the user's ability to book on those screens? Mobile apps, so do you have mobile apps within your workplace, for example? Are you able to book rooms with a mobile app, which is an increasingly popular demand from our customers and something we're really passionate about? And lastly, meeting chatbots, which is obviously the smaller percentage we saw, but is anyone on the call using or on the webinar using chatbots? It'd be really interesting to find out. So give it one more minute, maybe another 30 seconds or so for people to fill in the poll, and then we'll move on. Okay. I think we're about ready to close that poll then. So we'll just close off that poll and we'll go back to the screen share in a moment. Okay, I think that should be closed and hopefully the screen share is coming back. Let me just make sure that screen share is coming back. Yeah. Looks good. Okay, so we're going to go and have a look at that poll a bit later on. So we're not going to reveal the results straight away. A bit later in the presentation, we'll reveal the results, and then we'll have a little talk about them. It'd be very, very interesting to see the results. So the next section on the content is really to be very specific about how Condeco enhances the native Office 365 and Exchange experience. And there's a couple of key areas that we focus on, because as I mentioned earlier, the native booking journey in Office 365 is actually very, very good, right? And there's been challenges with maybe the room finder wasn't quite as functional as people wanted, but the Outlook Places features that Microsoft has brought into, especially Outlook for Mac, Outlook in the web, and I believe it's coming in Teams as well, and all the other interfaces are really, really strong. Geolocation finding to make it really easy to book rooms. On mobile as well, I use the Outlook Android app all the time personally to book rooms because it's that simple and easy. But there are always things that people need more than those kind of standard quick easy book journeys. And here's a few of the things that we offer to augment that journey. So we have the ability to show a grid across time zones in a way that's slightly more user-friendly than, say, the scheduling tab, for example. It's designed with a line that goes down to show the current time, and it matches up the time zones very conveniently so that people can see, oh, actually, I seem to be booking a meeting at midnight in Australia. I didn't quite realize that was the time zone I was booking it for. So we've got a lot of functionality that's really focused around making good choices when you're booking rooms. So not only about the physical location of the room, but also being able to filter on attributes, find rooms that are appropriate to you, set favorites, make sure the capacity is sufficient. Really where we add a lot of value into that experience is around helping people make the right choices for space, not just in terms of utilization, but also to make sure they have productive meetings. We also add the ability to find a room incredibly easily. So it's not a matter of kind of having to click multiple things. Much like the Outlook Places functionality, your favorite rooms appear and you're simply able to choose those rooms based on what's available at the time. And then lastly, we connect everything together. So if you are connecting or you have an admin team who may be looking after room bookings for that day, maybe they are looking in advance, shuffling things around in your client suite, which is a very common thing to happen, then everything is synchronized together. One of the challenges that we've found or is found by customers who work within a purely native Exchange environment is if I have a booking where I am the organizer and I invite room A to that meeting, and then a reception team are looking after room A, B, and C, and they need to juggle things around. It's a bit of a challenge when the end user is the organizer, because you can't just go into the calendar and start messing around with it. So there's a few features that we've added to make that a lot easier for administrators to manage. So simply having a single grid view of all those bookings synchronized in from the Exchange resources gives our reception teams, our central reservations teams, the visibility they need to manage space efficiently and see what's going on in that space. We also enhance the experience with digital displays. So these are our digital room screens. They allow for instant booking at the room, which is a really important thing. I think that when people can see the visibility of space, when they have this very simple traffic light system that you can see on your screen here, and some people on the call on the webinar may be familiar with our devices or similar devices, there is an inherent cultural impact of creating a perception of value in space. It's very, very common for people not to recognize the business cost or the value of meeting room space. And it is quite a significant cost, as I'm sure everyone's aware. Kitting out a meeting room and that meeting room square footage within any office space is quite significant. So making sure that your employees value space by making it visible is really, really important. And also creating an etiquette. You know, if you've ever been in a meeting room and have people outside the room banging on the door or opening the door to see if you're still in there, etc. Devices like these create a much better meeting room etiquette and a much better cultural appreciation of meeting room space. They also obviously increase room availability by doing that. One of the key things that we do there is that we allow people to end meetings. So if I've made a meeting in my Exchange calendar, I've invited room A, it's showing on my screen as I go into the room and I start my meeting so that it knows that I'm in the room. Or potentially some of our customers now are integrating with sensor solutions. So a sensor detects that someone's in the room and starts the meeting. And that meeting then progresses, and maybe I finish that meeting early. Maybe it's a 1 hour meeting, and after 30 minutes I'm finished. I'm leaving the room. I have the option to press an end button on the screen to free that room up for somebody else to book, rather than that room sitting empty for a further 30 minutes. And that status is then visible to everybody who can then come along and utilize that space, whether it's in Exchange, they see it's available and they book it, whether it's in the screen physically, or whether it's in a mobile app search for an available room because I need a quick meeting. We also have access card integration on these devices. So one of the common threads that we've found before is that if you don't have access card control for ending meetings, then you tend to get people going around ending other people's meetings and then jumping in and putting their own meetings in there and then playing, oh, I didn't know you weren't in there, it says my name on the screen, which is a common thing if you don't have some kind of control over people being able to end other people's meetings, for example. So with Condeco screens, you can set it so only the hosts can end their meetings, can extend their meetings. You can set it so anybody can check in. So maybe visitors or attendees to the meeting, they'll want to just start the meetings. It may not always be the host who attends, but there's quite a lot of flexibility there. You also then get really, really accurate reports on your room usage, because of your actually seeing whether people did or did not turn up. So rather than passively even looking at Exchange resources to say, oh, we're 40% utilized, we're 80% utilized or whatever. And what we'll tend to find across many, many organizations is that the booked or perceived availability of rooms is very, very different to the actual usage, and that's what's seen in sensor studies when you do a sensor study alone. What we try and do is add both those bits of data together. So you have your empirical data on whether or not the room was used using Condeco and a sensor solution potentially, and then you also have your ability to see the intent. So we think that users are booking 80% of space in advance, but actually only using 40%. So how do we get those two numbers closer together? Because you want people booking realistically what they're actually going to use. So these screens are very much a part of creating that culture and that ecosystem. We also have just, it's not mentioned on here, but our screens now have a very good back-end platform that manages them. So historically, we've had devices that were managed independently. You had to physically go to the device to do stuff. And now we have a back-end that manages those devices. So whether you use Condeco to its fullest extent in the cloud with lots of different features like the catering and the service, etc., or whether you use our screen pointed directly to an Exchange resource, you get this room management or screen management functionality that allows you to manage those devices remotely, much like other sort of AV equipment you would have in your meeting rooms. We also add mobile to the experience. Now, this isn't just about adding the ability to book via mobile, because that is available when you're using Microsoft Office products natively in room resources. You can use an Outlook app, you can add the room as an attendee. What we've tried to do is really augment that experience with the additional functionality available in the web. So we've added the ability to see room information. You can see here there are images of the rooms displayed. There's a floor plan of where the room is located. We've added the ability to see the services that are available in that room and the attributes of that room. Also, you can have your favorite rooms and easily book them, and you can extend, end, and check into your meetings from the mobile app. And mobile for us is an incredibly important area. We're going through a process now of changing some things in the back end so we can bring out even more functionality in the mobile app, things like Bluetooth beacon technology, geofencing, push notifications, etc. We have a lot of customers whose focus is to bring singular employee apps to their employees. So a lot of customers and partners are working together to produce singular employee apps where they can do their HR, they can do their holiday, they can do their catering, and they can do their room booking, maybe desk booking as well, and other areas. And all of our app functionality that we build is based on our APIs, which sit in the back end. So one of the advantages that isn't really noticed here, or one of the value add features that isn't noted in this presentation, is about connecting into Exchange, connecting into Office 365 for your room booking experience as you may have it today, but then taking that information in from Condeco and making it presentable via APIs. So when you want to integrate your HVAC system, when you want to integrate your visitor management system, when you want to integrate your IWMS, instead of those products having to integrate directly with Exchange, which isn't always appropriate, they can work with Condeco, and Condeco can work with the Exchange resources. So it's quite a good way to get a smarter workplace, as Condeco sitting in the middle, or at least as one component of a mesh of products creating a smart workplace. So how does Condeco do this? Now, this is a little bit of a technical part. So anyone who's not particularly interested in how Condeco synchronizes with Office 365, I will kind of go into a little bit of the technical bit, but I'm sure there'll be some people with some extra questions at the end. How do we actually integrate with Office 365 in your existing calendar environment? And we've got a variety of different methodologies to achieve this. Our most prominent way at the moment is to use our Office 365 synchronization. So this is using two technologies that are built into the Exchange Online platform, and which I'll commonly refer to as Office 365. Which is EWS, and also the newer functionality that's brought by Exchange Online, the Graph APIs. And what we do at Condeco is we synchronize two ways with those Exchange resources. So very commonly across AV technology and across other technologies, especially when looking at on-premise Exchange integrations of the past, there was some limitations to how you would integrate with Exchange. You'd either do a kind of polling method, there'd be a kind of daemon in the middle working, and you'd have a bit of a delay between a booking existing and then a booking being synchronized. With Condeco and our integration with Office 365 Exchange Online, we don't have those kind of delays. When you make a booking from Condeco, to Exchange. So where maybe I'm a reception team member and I'm going to put a booking in for the CEO, and I put that booking in and it's going to push into an Exchange resource, it is near real time. And we use the Graph APIs to do that. We push that straight into the Exchange resource using the Graph APIs. And when you go into Exchange, and you make a reservation, so you're just adding your own calendar appointment, you're adding room A to that calendar appointment, the invite gets sent, the calendar processing occurs, and that Exchange resource accepts that room invitation, then that actually notifies us via the EWS, and we bring in that booking right away. We actually go off and get some more details on the booking, and then we create that booking in Condeco. So we have a two-way synchronization, meaning that both systems are always synchronized together. And the Graph APIs are really allowing us to do some very, very cool stuff. So watch this space over the next couple of quarters, but things like allowing users to give Graph API permissions to their calendar, as opposed to just the room calendars, which is what we use today. So that if I go and move bookings around in my calendar, then Condeco can do certain things like suggest alternative rooms automatically if the room's not available, and some other cool stuff that the Microsoft Graph API stack allows us to achieve. So that's the way we actually integrate with Office 365. Many would say it's very, very seamless. From a technology perspective, we use the latest versions of technology. You still do need a bit of EWS, but just for those who are aware, Microsoft will be ending EWS basic authentication support in October of this year, and Condeco have already moved over to using OAuth based authentication for EWS. So we're using EWS in its most modern form, and the Graph APIs available in Exchange Online to create this two-way synchronization. Any questions on that we can take at the end on the technology part, but it does what we end up creating here is a booking synchronization in Condeco that's led by Exchange and allows us to add all these value add features, the screens, the mobile applications. We also provide, which isn't dedicated in here or detailed in here, sorry, a analytics level that Exchange is you wouldn't be able to achieve with Exchange natively. So we have a product feature called data analytics, and what that does is every single booking that's synchronized into Condeco is stored in Azure table storage via an app that runs and synchronizes that data into this Azure table storage, and you can then access that data with your favorite BI tool. So maybe it's Tableau, maybe it's Power BI, maybe it's some other solution, but you can grab onto that Azure table storage and you can have access to all of that historical data. One of the biggest challenges that our customers have faced with native Exchange journeys is getting really good insight into their workplace historically to then look at trends, look at realistic meeting room usage, especially when planning refurbs, new spaces, etc. And what we do by grabbing that data and then storing it in a way that's securely accessible to customers via Azure table storage is give that kind of workplace insight. So you can go to your data analytics team, you can go to your BI team and say, hey, I've got all this booking data, I've got this visitor data, I've got all this catering and services data. I want to make some really good insights into how my space is working. And I want to combine that data with other data sources, maybe from a sensor solution, maybe from a wayfinding solution, maybe from other sensor solution that's doing air quality control, or desk space management, for example, from Condeco. You can look at, well, why don't people book in this desk area very much? Oh, it's because the CO2 level is really high, because that's where all the bins are, maybe, or something of that nature. So there's really good things you can do in terms of value add once you start synchronizing the data with Exchange seamlessly. I'm going to pull up the poll results now just to see, because it's quite an interesting bit of information here. So I've got some information. So we've got 90% of people voted. So thank you for all those who took the time to vote in there. Looking at percentages, we've got about 44% or 42% have got Microsoft or Google using to book. So the majority are using Outlook to book, which is exactly what we see across the customer base. So the large majority of people are doing Exchange based. So I've got some slight It's either 42 or 44%. I can't see it on the screen at the moment, but it looks like the vast majority is Microsoft. We've got 21% contacting PAs or reception teams, for example, and then 37% specialist software. So that is a really significant increase, which is evident that there are features, products like Condeco add to customers' needs and meeting customers' needs, is that Exchange alone does have some limitations where we can add that value through specialist software. So really good information there, and we will, I assume there's going to be some follow-up information that's going to be shared with everyone who's taken the time to join the webinar, and we'll include that data as well. Okay, we'll put down that poll then, and we're going to continue on with some of the other experience value adds before we open up for questions, recognizing we've got about 15 minutes of everyone's time left. So I'll spend about 5 more minutes and then we'll open up for some Q&A if there's any questions that have come through. So more than just a room booking system. I think this is one of the things that has been a passion project of mine, especially, and I know Luke feels strongly about this, that when we talk about room booking, there's so much more to an ecosystem for employees than just booking a room. There's so much more consideration. There's different types of spaces, there's breakout spaces, there's desk spaces that are appropriate to the work, but there's also so much other elements to a room than there is just booking it. There is the video equipment in the room, there's how that room is perceived in terms of its availability with displays outside of it, there is how that room is utilized over a period of time. Is the room the right size? Does the room have the right equipment in it? Does it gone are the days when having an OHP and a flip chart are the main requirements for a room. It's really much more about how productive that room is to enable performance of our employees who are utilizing that space, and how much value for money are we getting from that room. So for us, when we're talking about a room booking system, we see Condeco as adding or bringing together or being a part of a workplace solution that offers a lot more than just a room booking system. And this image is quite a nice one to talk through, is about the different areas of, and touch points of impact across a workplace. So we've got obviously the meeting room here. I'm just going to use my mouse to point over it if I can. There we go. So we've got the meeting room here, which is obviously the room booking part, but you can see outside of the room we have the digital display. We also have the video equipment in the room and audio equipment. And if you're looking at native solutions with Office 365, a lot of them, what we see in the market right now and what we use across a lot of our offices are technologies like Teams room systems, Skype room systems, Surface hubs, Zoom rooms. So there's all sorts of different products out there that are based on Exchange related functionality. So having a seamless integration with an Exchange element is what really brings together these native video conferencing experience. So you can book the room and the video at the same time. Having these separate systems is never ideal. Having separate room booking systems to meet different room booking requirements for different teams is not ideal, or even different buildings. And what we've really tried to do is provide a set of solutions and functionality that bring together all of these different parts as one ecosystem, so you can have a smart workplace experience. You also have some wayfinding to an extent here, which we do ourselves. This is just a list of available rooms, but then we partner with lots of great wayfinding companies to do indoor wayfinding and things of that nature. We also have our desk booking kiosk and our desk booking devices as well. And again, I prefer to use the term workplace scheduling or space scheduling, because desk booking has connotations of I have to pre-book my desk all the time, which yes, you can do, but on a personal usage, and Luke's usage, I know, for example, as well, we just walk into the office, we see the lights, we sit down at a space that's available, and that's how we use that space. So the desk is just simply ours for the day, as opposed to us booking anything as such. But you can use the system to pre-book as well. So the overall experience is designed to give simplicity, but allow customers and users to focus on the most important part, which is actually doing the job of the company, right, and being productive. We bring together quite a lot of the different areas of the ecosystems, and we're a part of the overall ecosystem. I wouldn't say we're necessarily the center of it. That's why we use the term mesh. quite a lot. But we have video systems, we have HR systems, so things like Active Directory in terms of keeping your users in synchronization with Condeco, visitor management, wayfinding, IWMS systems, and all of these things have been out since the summer of last year now. Integration into BI systems like Power BI, Exchange integration, which is what we're primarily talking about today as the use case, and services was in room services, food services, catering, AV, etc., and wayfinding and booking. So this is a nice little kind of ecosystem slide, but I'm not a massive fan of us being in the middle because I see it as much more of a mesh of us and other products, other vendors to create an overall smart ecosystem in the end user's workplace. Okay, I'm going to stop talking there and open up for questions, but thank you very much for spending time to listen to me go on. I'll hand back to the team in the room and to Luke and open up for any questions that maybe I might be able to help with.
Thanks, John. Yeah, I'm just going to pull up the questions now. If you do have anything, you can pop it in the questions box on the right-hand side of your screen. And whilst we've got the guys on the call, it'd be great to use the opportunity to get them answered for you. So there are a couple here. So we've got, does the Exchange Condeco Sync work with on-premise Exchange as well as online?
At the moment, it doesn't work with on-premise Exchange. Yeah, so we do have a lot of customers who are moving over from Exchange on-premise to Exchange online. One of the things that we've done with a lot of those customers where they're in a hybrid ecosystem, which is very, very popular, because there's a lot of features you're never going to get with Exchange on-premise, right? You can't use graph APIs. A lot of team stuff you don't get with Exchange on-premise. So what a lot of customers are doing is using a hybrid model. So where it's important from a security perspective to keep calendars and inboxes in-house, local, you have your Exchange on-premise, and then you have your Exchange online hybrid synchronization. But you don't necessarily move much resources across to the hybrid, right? You don't move that money much across to Exchange online. You end up operating a hybrid. So what we do with Condeco is we do need those graph APIs, and we do need that Office 365 subscription to be able to create this kind of seamless two-way synchronization. We have a lot of customers now who just move the room calendars only to the Office 365 subscription. So all their users, their CEOs, calendars, etc., all on the on-premise Exchange, all the emails, etc. They move the room calendars only to Office 365, and then we synchronize with those, because Condeco can be deployed synchronizing only with the Office 365 with the room calendars. You don't have to synchronize with the users' calendars, right? In the future, some functionality may be limited if you don't have the users in there as well, because they wouldn't be able to be accessed via the Graph API. But right now, today, you can have that seamless synchronized journey just by moving the room calendars into Office 365 in a hybrid. And there's a functionality called a unified global address list, the UGAL, which allows users to still experience the room list exactly the same, whether the rooms are in Office 365 or whether the rooms are in on-premise. So my recommendation there would be, if you're not already in a hybrid model, to look at a hybrid model and just the room calendars going out to Office 365. And that opens a huge amount of doors for you in terms of Teams integration and obviously products like Condeco.
Great. Okay. Someone else has asked, how does the licensing work? Is it sort of on a per device or per room basis?
Yeah, so Condeco has a couple of different licensing pieces, and obviously it's different through different partners and things of that nature. But the basic pricing model is that we charge per resource that's managed or per screen device that's used. The screen devices are licensed in terms of obviously the support for that device and the screen management layer that makes sure it's up and running, gives you access to change all the themes and the health check, etc. And then we manage the rest by a licensing for rooms and desks, right? So if you had 10 rooms, you would have 10 room licenses, for example. So we don't charge based on user licensing, which is something that is sometimes done by other products. So you could have, if you're a manufacturing business and you have 90,000 users, but you're mostly manufacturing, not office-based, you're going to have a much less rooms, right? So for us, we feel that it offers better value for money for customers to manage licensing by the amount of rooms and the amount of desk spaces, and obviously the maintenance and support for the screen devices are the only other license. Hopefully that answers that one. Luke, did you have anything to add on that? Sorry, you may not
No,
be.
nothing
May
from
have
me.
put him on the spot there. Sorry, Luke. Okay.
We've got another question. What are the HR options?
So HR, well, basically we've got a set of APIs that are built for integration into user management systems, right? So we've got integration directly with LDAP via a little app you can run on premise if you've still got on-prem AD. We're just actually about to finish building out, and I think we'll be, I'd say, watch this space for integration into Azure AD synchronization. So you don't even have to go via LDAP. But the entire structure uses a bunch of open APIs that can be used to push data from any HR system. We also have some APIs that people are using at the moment to manage desk bookings from HR systems as well. So if I go on holiday and I have a desk assigned to me, they're actually releasing that desk for periods of time, or releasing or cancelling any bookings I may have made because I'm on holiday or I'm off sick, for example. So there's more out of the box ones coming, hopefully, but those are the standard ones at the moment.
Great, thank you. And last question? Someone's asked, are we able to generate reports? What can we generate reports off of this?
Yeah, there's a huge ton of reports. So we have actually kind of three kinds of reporting now, because I think, as Luke mentioned, 15 years in the business, we've grown quite a lot with reporting different functionality with our customer base. So we have a bunch of reports. I think there's about 40 odd reports. They're kind of canned static reports that we built over 10, 12 years of working with our customers. We call those our legacy reports, but we've never removed those from the system because they still add a lot of value. And then we've got our advanced reports, which are ones that are customizable. So you can take any data, almost any data in the system. There's one or two fields that aren't in there, but almost any data. Create your own hierarchies, filters, export those into PDF, Excel, so on and so forth. And then we have our data analytics, which is slightly more advanced in terms of the way it integrates with BI tools, right? So this is where you might want to create dashboards, you might want to do scheduled reporting, you might want to look at analytic trends over many years of usage. That data analytics module is another kind of reporting feature that takes all historical data in the system for bookings, visitors, desks, and services, and allows you to dashboard it with your data analytics team. So if you have a Power BI license, you can do it yourself, but if you have an analytics team, you can pass it to them, or I'm sure we've got many partners that offer some really great data analytics services that would love to get their hands on that data for you and produce some really cool dashboards. Hopefully that answers that one.
Yeah, that's great. Fahad, do we have time for one more question? We just had another question come through. Are you able to? Okay. Are you able to give non-365 admin user access to change calendars and meetings for people who they don't have access to their calendars?
So at the moment, we don't use the Graph API permissions directly onto the user's calendar. However, once we do, and we are very imminent to releasing these kind of functionalities, when a user has opted in, or your business has opted in a user to say, okay, say it's me doing it, and I say, yes, I'm happy for Condeco to manage my calendar. When that's done, the functionality would then allow an administrator into Condeco to make changes that would alter the booking in my calendar. Now, we want to put in lots of controls in there to make sure, because what you don't want to happen is, say, I'm the CEO, I've made a booking, someone comes in, moves it to room A to room B, and it emails the entire board of the company with an updated invite, right? So there has to be certain controls in place, there has to be certain restrictions at different administrative levels, etc. But from a fundamental technology level, that is what we're working towards enabling our customers to do. Is if I give you permission to my calendar, as in I give Condeco permission to my calendar, or the business opts in that permission, then when I moved a booking around, it would update that booking in my calendar. Right now, today, the vast majority of customers don't have that functionality, or wouldn't be necessarily comfortable with that functionality. So they only give us access to the room resources. And when we've got access to the room resources, we can't go in and change say my booking in my calendar, all we could do is reject it. So the room goes, sorry, you can't have this booking anymore. Please try another room or something of that nature. So both options will be available in the future. Right now it's room permission based, but that's very much for the kind of journeys we're looking to give to our customers.
Okay, great, perfect. Well, thanks, John. Thanks for your time. Thanks for the questions there, everyone. If there is anything that you do think of that you comes to you after and you want to ask, you can email tellmemore@bytes.co.uk, or alternative, you can obviously reach out to your Bytes account manager. For more information around prices and licensing costs, or if you're interested in a free demo, Condeco and Bytes, then please speak to your Bytes account manager and we can get this all organised for you and provide you more information. I will be sharing the recording rounds sort of later today or tomorrow. So yeah, other than that, it's everything from me. Thank you, John, for your time today, and thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.